Hello, everybody. My name is Paige,
My name is Erin. This is
and
Pixel Perfect Podcast.
yes, I had a whole thing in my head about how I was gonna be so on it about saying the stuff, and I can't even say the words right. Wow,
It's
what a
because I
start!
stole it from you for once.
You
I
did.
stole it.
You
So that's
did.
really my bad.
You did. I was gonna say we should switch it up sometimes. So I shouldn't be such a verbal hog at the beginning of these things. Fuck, man. All right, restarting. This is Pixel Perfect Podcast, a show where we talk about books, movies, and video games, and try to talk about contemporary things, current stuff that's coming out. As a reminder, we do our little podcast chat thing for the first 30 to 45 minutes, and then at the end we'll open up to Q&A if you have thoughts or questions you want to chime in with based on what we were talking about. So if you say something in the chat, we don't get to it, we're not ignoring you. It's just we're going to answer it after we are done talking. Yeah.
Gotta get all those thoughts out first.
Yes, or we'll literally we're like goldfish. You flash something shiny in front of us and we're like, "What were we talking about?" So yeah. Do you want to tell everyone what we're talking about today?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So we're talking about Happy Death Day, and then Happy Death Day to You, which is two films by Christopher Landon. He didn't technically write the first script, but he wrote the second one, and he made major
Revisions.
he did it revisions. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. He did major revisions to the first script, so we can credit him with a lot of it.
Yeah.
And for once, I have the numbers again.
Ooh, yay. Before we jump into that, can you clarify for me, is it Blumhouse or Bloomhouse?
I believe it's Bloomhouse.
Is it Bloomhouse? That's what I want to say. I've never heard it pronounced, but I just was surprised to see that was who the production company was, and I was like, fuck, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce anything. The names of the actors, I think it's Jessica Roth or Ruth.
It's
I'm
Roth.
not actually totally positive.
That's
it's
the
Roth.
only thing I know is Jessica Roth and then Israel Broussard.
Broussard.
Yeah.
Broussard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we can, between the two of us, we can hopefully pronounce things, which is a thing that we're not good at.
We're really not.
I've been playing Pokemon since I was 5 years old, and I can't pronounce most of the Pokemon names.
It's just a weakness of ours.
So
yeah.
It's a kind of slasher Palm Springs movie, Palm Springs, where it's a Groundhog Day, if you know that better, where there's this girl getting murdered and she's living her murder day over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And she's got to solve her killer and figure out who it is. And that's Happy Death Day 1.
Yeah, and then Happy Death Day, the second one, goes off into a genre smorgasbord.
Yes. It just goes into alternate parallel universes and does the whole time loop thing again, and it's really interesting. There will be spoilers. We always do spoilers.
Oh, so many spoilers.
Yes, we don't care. We just ruin everything.
That's I should have named this episode Happy Spoiler Time. Oh my god.
But yeah, I have the numbers again for once.
I think that's exciting because I only glanced at the number, what the first movie actually made, and I was very impressed. So I think the numbers are interesting this time around.
Budget for the first movie was $4.8 million.
Yeah.
And then opening domestic weekend was $26 million, which is amazing for a movie that is $5 million budget.
Did it open worldwide? It didn't do any indie type release at first?
It did open worldwide.
Okay.
It made $125 million worldwide.
Yeah, which is bonkers.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It kind of reminds me of Paranormal Activity, which Christopher Landon was also involved in.
Yeah.
With an even small, it's just a small budget that happened to kind of make a bunch of money. I mean, 126 million isn't an extreme amount of money, but for what it was,
yeah, for when you on a shoestring budget,
yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and the second movie did not do as well. They gave it a slightly higher budget at 9 million. It made that back in its opening weekend, domestically. Domestically total it made 28, and then worldwide it made 64.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So yeah, not as good, but still
decent,
respectable. For what it was.
Such slasher sequels, I feel like typically don't do well anyways. Sequels are risky business.
your Scream, which they just keep fucking making.
Yeah, that's endless. Or anything with like Halloween or Jason
Yep,
or
yep. Just keeps fucking going.
those don't end. Um, I think I'm gonna rock your world with this episode because I hated these movies.
Serious? Oh no!
I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna like these going into it, and then like watching Lady Night the Braves video, which was super convenient that she also did a video on that. I was like, oh, good, I can watch more of it. And then like I know how like excitedly you had recommended these for our Halloween episodes, so I was very surprised with how little I liked them.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I'm very sad now. Tell me why though.
I don't like I can appreciate what they are. I don't think they are bad movies, but I
Okay.
did not enjoy them at all.
Okay.
I was profoundly bored. I turned the second one off halfway through.
Are you
I was
serious?
so over it.
But the second one gets better in the second half.
I mean, I caught up on like everything I missed, and I felt like I was like fine, having not seen the rest of it. But
It makes me so sad.
yeah, so I'm very sorry that I did. If anything, this will make for a more interesting episode.
I mean, I hope so. It's just so because I found them to be funny and likable and interesting.
Mhm.
I mean, they're definitely kind of movies that they don't hold up to scrutiny, so you really can't look at them for too long or try and like break them down
Yeah.
because they don't hold up. They're just fun, like movies that are just trying to do their own thing.
Right, which I'm fine with that. There's lots of stupid horror movies that don't hold up in various ways, but they're still like a good time.
Most horror movies are
Most horror
stupid and
movies.
don't hold up.
Yeah.
I will say that because I was thinking about as I was watching the movies about our comment last week about Jennifer's Body not being really much of a horror film.
Yeah, that's I think primarily what got me. It was and I forgot to watch the trailer for this. If I remember correctly from when I first saw the trailer, they do frame it as scarier than it actually is, right?
Did not have a chance to watch the trailer before
I feel like I remember watching the trailer when it first came out back in 2017 and being like, "Oh, that looks scary. I think I would like watching that." And then just didn't get around to it. And I was like, "This is not
It got me a few times though. It didn't
remotely
get you?
frightening." No.
It got me.
When?
It got me a few times.
I need scenes.
Well, I mean, the first one of the ones that sticks out to me was the bedroom scene where she's boarded everything up and there's someone in the bathroom. That scene got me.
Nope.
I mean, some of the scenes like didn't, but the whole scene in the the chase in the car garage
Mhm.
got me.
Nope, didn't get me that didn't get me either.
And it wasn't like in a sense that it was like I was terrified, but I did jump a few times and I did feel the suspense.
Mhm.
Where it was like, even though you she's gonna die, I
Yeah.
would like continuously feel the suspense. That was what it was for me. I mean, it's
Fascinating.
no like Haunting of Hill House.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's not terrifying. And I wouldn't call it, but I would call it not quite Halloween level for me,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't call Halloween. I mean, there are gonna be people who are gonna yell at me now, but I don't remember being.
I like what we're wading
I
into right now. It's great.
I know. Um, I'm not saying that it's scary, but I am saying that it got me a few times,
Okay. Yeah.
and there were a few times that it creeped me out.
No, I wasn't creeped out at all. I was super annoyed too because I guessed the ending of the movie in like the first freaking 10 minutes and I was like, yeah, that played out exactly how I
Really?
expected. Oh yeah. The second the roommate was like, "Oh, like these things have consequences." I was like, yeah, the roommate's the killer and she's all pissed about fucking this girl fucking the other guy.
I watched Lady Nights the Braves video before I watched Happy Death Day 1 and 2,
Mhm.
so I knew everything anyway.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I can't confidently say one way or the other if I would have seen it coming.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like the second one just fucks it all up anyway.
The second one is bonkers. Like
It's bonkers. It's
absolutely
just crazy.
bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cuz like it's like not just a slasher fic, it's like science fiction craziness and like so I think what
Heist
annoyed me
movie.
about this film is like okay, maybe I got misled into thinking it was more of a horror movie, but I'm okay with slasher comedies. I
I
like
did
slasher comedies. And what
I
it
did tell you they were comedies last week.
did you?
Yes, I did, because you said,
Oh.
"Hopefully it'll be scarier," and I told you they're definitely comedies.
Oh my god, I must have just like totally not even paid attention to your text message. I'm
Thanks,
so
thanks,
sorry.
that makes me feel
I'm
good.
so sorry.
But I did warn you. There's proof, there's video proof of me telling you that they're comedies.
Oh, that makes sense. God, my brain. Um, when they lean into the comedy moments, like the montage set to Confident in the first movie when she just keeps coming back and trying to solve her own murder, I loved that. It was when it leaned into like its really comedic, this is bonkers vibes that it felt good to me. But then it was like juxtaposed with scenes that were like, it felt like you were supposed to be more scared than you were. So I was like, can we pick a vibe to go with? So I just like left me feeling bored.
Me sad.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'm trying to think of like what kind of questions I want to ask you.
Yeah,
So you didn't enjoy it.
no, not
What do you
particularly.
what do you think of it more objectively, do you feel like?
What do you mean?
Do you feel like I don't know, like do you think that for what it was, it's well written?
Yeah, because I can see why it has value. I can see why people liked it. I liked who the characters were, I guess. Like I liked Tree, I liked Carter. I even liked Danielle with all her shittiness. It's like she
Danielle's
entertained
that
me.
kind of character that's easy to like for
Yeah,
hating her.
right, exactly. It's just like I don't know, I guess it didn't lean enough into comedy for me to be like, this is a fun slasher fic, but also didn't lean enough into the scary for me to be like, oh, I'm being absorbed by the tension. But I get why other people like it. Like watching Lady Night the Braves video, I was like, I get why she feels this way, and I can see why other critics are like, yeah, this is a great time.
I just feel like if they had leaned too much into comedic moments, it would have become a parody.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because it's fundamentally not a parody. It's trying to do something, and it's definitely trying to do something and mess around with the genre, but it's not a parody. And I feel
Right.
like if they had leaned too hard into a comedy and not tried to do the balance they did, it would have become a parody.
I think that makes sense, and I can agree with that because like that's not like what you said. That's not what they were going for. Um, don't know what they were going for with the second one.
I think that they were trying. I think that these movies are sincere in a lot of ways that maybe like I think horror movies don't really slow down so that people can have emotional moments with their mother.
Mhm.
And this movie is very sincere and does that.
Mhm.
So I think you could argue that that's the emotional core of the movie, but depending on how you view it, you could also argue that it completely stops the plot in order to have these moments.
Yep.
There's a thing I was going with that. Where did I start with that? Um, where did I start with that? Paige, tell me where I started.
You started I don't know, my brain
I don't
also just
remember either.
broke. Yeah, we got a reset there.
Guys, we're not very good at
I was
this.
like paying it very vividly paying attention to what you were saying, and then like you got to your point about it stopping or starting it, and I also forgot where you started with your point.
I think that this movie is trying. I think the second one, oh, that's where we started, was the second one, what was the second one was trying to do. And I think the second one was trying to be more sincere and really boil down what kind of choices you have to make and the people around you. I think the
Mhm.
second one was fundamentally about relationships because
Yeah.
you have all these people who are willing to, she comes every day is like, hey, this is happening. And they're like, okay, we'll help you.
Mhm.
And it's about like seeing these people as people and seeing them kind of grow together, even though it's in this really weird situation.
Yep.
And you see her relationship with her mother and you see her relationship with Carter, and it's I think it's fundamentally about relationships, and I think it's fundamentally emotional, which is something that might be why it feels so confusing genre rise, because comedies will do that. Comedies will slow down, but slasher
Mhm.
films don't slow down so that you can have emotional conversations with your mother. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's that might be kind of some of the dissonance you're feeling
Yeah.
with these movies.
And I feel like
But correct me if I'm wrong.
no, I think that very accurately sums it up. And like the second one feels even more so that way because it throws in like the sci-fi elements and like it like attempts to explain why the first one happened, which is interesting. Like, you don't see movies often doing that, so it's like an interesting idea. It was just, I guess it was just lost on me.
I mean, if you think about like that um, clip of wouldn't it be interesting of the writers basically saying wouldn't it be interesting if the guy coming in saying that sexist line is the guy who caused the entire
Oh,
problem to begin with,
yeah.
which I find interesting because just the idea of like we don't really know where we're going, but wouldn't this be funny?
Yeah,
Which tells you kind of where their priorities are.
right.
But I am wondering, I mean, it's more difficult because you haven't really finished the second film. Paige, you're making my life more difficult by not finishing
I
the
know
second
what
film.
happened.
I know, but it's hard to like talk about like what do you think about the emotional core of the movie? Like,
With the choice that, like, Tree has to make about, like, either staying or, like, going back to her real life or whatever.
yeah, I'm wondering what you thought about her mother and her relationship with her mother, and because I feel like weirdly enough, her mother got too much screen time and not enough screen time to push home what they were trying to do.
Yeah, that you know what's funny is that's the point when I turned the movie off, was, like, shortly after the reunion, I think? The reunion dinner, and then, like, I had moved on to some whatever the scene is after that.
In the movie, Paige,
What?
it's like 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, halfway. What is this,
I
like, an
guess
hour and
so.
a half film? Yeah.
It's
I
an
made it
hour and
halfway.
40 minutes.
I made it halfway. I got to
Ugh.
I think I got to, like, the mom showing up being alive, and I was just like, "Ugh." So I don't think I would have felt any better about the additional screen time she was gonna get after that. I felt like, you know what it felt like is that Tree was relearning lessons she had already learned in the first one, I guess, if that makes sense. So it was like, it felt silly.
I can see that point of view. I'm trying to decide if I agree with it. Because I feel like Tree's thing is really starting to care about different people, but in like a different way.
Mhm.
Because like you have that whole fight where she's like, I can't be responsible for everybody dying.
Yeah.
Like I have to like do my own thing.
Mhm.
And it's kind of about just doing what you can for others. Where I feel like the first movie was less about that and more about becoming a better person for yourself. And then the second movie was more about becoming a better person for other people.
Okay. I can I can see that. I can see, cuz like Tree's whole thing is like, I'm not a good person, and like, she does, through her caring for Carter, she does end up caring about her being a better person on her own, but like what you said, like there is evidence of like her just doing it for herself too, and like seeing how
Yeah.
cathartic it is to process her feelings and be a better person instead of just like avoiding them and being an asshole all the time. So
Yeah.
I guess I can see what the why there are two different themes going on.
And I feel like so for instance, when you have her doing her like good day where she's trying to end it,
Mhm.
you have her fixing in the first movie, her fixing her relationship with her father and then shutting breaking off the affair,
Mhm.
which feels like more her cleansing herself. Whereas the
Yep.
second one, you have her going after Lori and helping Lori, and then trying to, well, initially trying to apologize for Danielle for being so judgy.
Mm.
And it's like you see the difference between like the first movie is about fixing her mistakes, and the second movie is about helping other people before she's gone.
Like fixing her mistakes and then like fixing her relationships kind of thing.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I felt like.
Okay. I can
So I think that's
appreciate
why it
that.
didn't bother me.
I can accept that as a, like being core components of the film.
Yeah. But I did feel like the emotional cores of the film weren't getting enough screen time. For like it was almost like they were in like this weird middle ground of like there's enough screen time here that I'm trying figure out like there's enough screen time that this is clearly an emotional core of the film and this is clearly what they're trying to do.
Mhm.
And I can see what they're trying to do. But it's not enough screen time for it to work for me.
Yeah, I can see
Was
that.
basically where I was at.
I agree with that because I really liked Carter, and I was like, I could have seen more development of their relationship, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I kind of wish they'd leaned more into the romance thing than they would into the mom
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, me too. Cause like, I mean, can we appreciate Carter for a second? She's like, I'm stuck in a
I
time
love
loop, and he's
Carter.
like, okay, I'm going with that. Like, who does that?
he just totally goes with it. And I mean, it helps that like during one of those things, she's like car alarms,
Mhm.
sprinklers, that guy's about to fall.
Yep.
But like that's the only time where she really see her have to like prove it.
You're right. Yeah.
Um, but I loved Carter. I thought he's just genuinely good guy Carter.
Yeah, I think he was underutilized. I think I definitely wanted more of him in the film. Although it was very hard to
Yeah.
look at him and not think of To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Oh, you're right. I
Yeah.
did not see that, but
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, I feel like I wish they'd kind of explored more of his feelings too
Mm.
and who he was kind of because it's so early in the relationship for him
Yeah,
where it's like
absolutely.
there was the moment where like the girlfriend moment where she's like, "Yeah, kind of." And I'm like, "Okay, but for you,
Yeah.
for him, he's known you 2 days."
Yep.
So I wish that we kind of dealt with that a little bit more. And I guess I'm trying to decide if I'm expecting too much from a comedy slasher film, but it seems like it's trying to do something emotionally.
Mhm.
So therefore, I feel like it's putting itself on that grounds for me to critique it emotionally.
Mhm. And
Does
that's
that make
fine.
sense?
You can feed it into the negative energy. I'll accept all of it.
But I did genuinely enjoy these movies. I found them very funny. I find the characters very likable. I found the shenanigans to be fun. Um,
did you just watch them for the first time for this, or had you seen them before?
no, I just watched them for the first time for this.
Okay. I'm wondering if Palm Springs put high expectations in my head too, because I liked that so much, and that was my first experience with like a time loop movie, and I really, really, really liked that.
Them to not be so dissimilar. Did you find them to be dissimilar?
I think it was because of like what I said before. I think I might have liked it if it was more comedic, though I get that might have hurt the integrity of the film. If that makes sense. I don't know. I just think when a film's gonna be bonkers, I just like when it leans into the bonkersness.
I just go back to I feel like they were trying to do a very good balance and that was causing problems.
Yep. Yeah. Like too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, maybe. I still like it.
That's
I
fine.
still like these films.
It's great
I
when we
feel like they're good
disagree.
films. I know. But cuz it's interesting cuz you know me cuz I like will love something and then that makes me critique it more
Mhm.
because that's just who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And sometimes my husband's just like, "Can't you just enjoy things?" And I'm like, "This is how I enjoy things."
Yeah. That's like I feel like that's a thing on the internet that like people freak out about when you're like, I'm critiquing such and such, and they're like, why can no one enjoy things anymore? And it's like, you can enjoy things and also accept their flaws. Like that's like any Disney film.
Enjoy thinking about things critically anyway. That's
Yeah.
how I like
That's
to
just
operate.
that's your whole credo.
Yeah, and also I went to grad school for doing that, and
Ex-
now I can't shut that off. It
yeah,
doesn't shut off.
that's
It
very
just
true.
keeps going.
Um, I was gonna ask your thoughts because I feel like you always have interesting insights and stuff like this about like the filmmaking itself. Like, was the was it interesting compared to other movies at all in that regard? Like, I wonder if that's why people like
Um,
it a lot.
I think it was very well made, and there's a couple shots that get me every single time. Like I don't know if you saw it in the second film, but there was one in the first film where she gets hit by a bat and she falls into bed.
Yeah, yeah,
Like there were a couple transitions that I was like, "That's the shit."
yeah.
Like there's the one in the second one where during her period of suicides,
Hmm.
where she jumps off a tower and she falls into bed,
Yeah,
and it's so well done. And I'm just like, because like for me, good filmmaking is weird where like it has to both pull you out enough that you're like, "Holy shit, that's really good filmmaking," but not pull you out so much that you lose your engagement with the story.
that makes sense.
Which is the same thing with bad filmmaking too, where bad filmmaking is bad filmmaking because it pulls you out of the story, but not necessarily like a good way.
Right, yeah.
So there weren't, I wouldn't say a shit ton of moments throughout these movies where I stopped and was like, "Holy shit, that's really good filmmaking."
Hmm.
But it definitely like it definitely like well made films,
Yeah. I could, yeah, especially for five
especially for the
million
budget.
dollars. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was so surprised when I saw that. I was like, holy shit. But damn, yeah. No, I liked those transitions. I also really like that clip from the second film of her flipping the camera off when she's falling in front of Carter and Danielle because they're dating in that alternate timeline. It's like that's good shit. That's the shenanigans I enjoy greatly.
wondering. So there's this line because I spent part of movie 2 wondering why the fuck they were together.
Mhm.
But there's this line where she says, "I can't pass American literature without you," and I was like, "Oh, that's what it is."
Yeah.
So that helps. I don't know why I'm pointing that out. It was just a little moment where I was like, "This feels not right."
No, as soon as they, like, kiss, you're like, "No?" Like, when would this ever happen?
No, but then there's this line where she says, "I couldn't pass," where she's like, You said you'd help me with my paper tonight. I can't pass American Lit without you."
Mhm.
And then I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. You're like, "Suddenly I
So it's like a
understand."
throwaway line, but it's like something that like solidifies for me that like they thought about it a little bit at least.
Yeah. I mean, I think it still makes a little less sense on Carter's end because I feel like he has slightly more dignity than that. I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I mean, she's pretty hot,
That's
but
fair. That is fair. Um,
and he seems pretty easy, seeing as Tree calls herself his girlfriend on day 2, and he's like, "Yeah,
he's
okay."
like, "Right on. Yeah, all right. That works." I'm very, very glad they took the time to clarify too that like she had just been drunk and he like took her into his room because he was worried about her because when it opened the way it did, I was like, "Really? This isn't cool." So that made me feel much better.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's that moment too where like they also make clear that she invited herself over to his place,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
where she's just like, "Okay, I'm going home with you now," and he's like, "Okay, I guess I'll sleep in my roommate's bed and kick out my roommate."
He's like, "This is fine."
I do think it's interesting because you start Death Day 2 not knowing how they could possibly continue this,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it opens
absolutely.
up on the roommate, and you're like, "Oh, we are completely shifting our expectations in perspective right now
Yeah, but then they totally fuck with you again. Like they do that whole thing where
by
you're like,
shifting it
"Oh,
back."
we're watching someone else loop," and then they're like, "Just kidding! It's still Tree, but like crazy other shit's happening," which I can respect. I think that's an interesting thing that they did.
I think they still work on Ryan. It's not like they abandoned him completely. He's still pretty core
Yeah,
to the rest of the movie.
the only concept of him that they completely abandoned was his like doppelganger that was trying to kill him, and then they just never revisited that.
They fixed it. He fixed it
It's
by
fine.
activating the machine.
It's
It's
just
fine.
fine.
It's
Speaking of
fine.
activating the machine, that was one of those moments where I was like, "This is glorious cinema." When they're like free
Oh yeah.
falling through
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
air. Yeah.
I was like, this is good with with like the music and everything
Yeah.
too. I was like, this is funny. This is good.
Yeah. I greatly enjoyed that.
And I just loved kind of the camaraderie that built, even though like they like the fact that they like she was the crazy white girl, right? And like
Mhm.
even when you see at the end, like you didn't see this at the end. Fuck you. Um, at the end when she's frantically calling Ryan to get him to stop the machine so that she can save Carter.
Mhm.
Um, it pops. She calls and you see the screen and it pops up crazy white
I
girl.
love it. That's fantastic.
Um, so but just the fact they're just like we're still not sure you're crazy, but this sounds relatively okay. So we're just gonna go ahead and do a shit ton of work for you because clearly
Mhm.
like also she learns quantum physics.
Yeah.
It was literally Palm Springs for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, that sounds real familiar.
But like it came out before then because it came out
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, yeah, so it did. So I wonder if like
Yeah, it came out February 2019.
oh yeah. So who knows? Coincidence, borrowing, I'm not really sure. I mean, this whole genre is just like one big rip off of Groundhog Day essentially.
It's true. But I felt like it was close enough to Palm Springs for me that I appreciated it, but farther enough that I felt like there was a difference.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And there was another thing I can appreciate is that when she was in like a like quantum physics class in the first movie, that was another thing I was like, "Oh, okay, she's going to learn science to get out of the time loop." That seems predictable, but it ended up not happening in the first movie and it happened in the second movie. And I'm like, was that just like happy coincidence or did they put that there knowing there was a possibility of a sequel going in that bonkers direction?
I don't think they planned part 2 at all, but I could be very wrong until but I mean it might be like I mean they're planning a third one, which I
Is
just
that
saw an article
official?
today.
Like, did they officially announce it?
I just saw an article today saying that because of the way things are and because of the way video on demand is going, um it has become more likely.
Okay.
But right now, I'm very curious to see what will happen to Freaky because Freaky is a film by the
Mm.
same people. Um,
And it looks so good.
and it looks really, really good. And right now, it is releasing only in theaters.
Yeah, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well, especially because Regal's shutting down.
Yeah, like they're gonna have to
Regal
change
is
their
shutting
mind.
down.
They're literally like they're gonna have to. I think they're gonna have to scramble at the last minute and be like, either we delay it perpetually, like Marvel is doing, idiotically, or they friggin' need to just do it an on-demand thing. I don't know. I feel like there's like this is like mildly off topic, but I feel like they're missing out on this like incredible marketing opportunity of creating like at-home movie premieres where like you could still do it live and have people like tune in at a special time and like make it a whole big deal and like I don't know. I just think there's like
Yeah.
their way to do it that would be fun.
HBO Max is probably the best avenue for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like HBO in general.
yeah. I think that would make sense.
But yeah, I just feel like there's things people could be doing for video on demand that they are not doing, and I'm very frustrated by it.
Yep.
Because yes, I would like to go back to the movie theater, but no one should be going to the movie theater.
No.
So I'm very curious to see what happens with Freaky, because that might affect Happy Death Day 3.
Yeah.
Which should be around Danielle from the way they teased it at the end
Which
of.
might actually make me watch it.
I'd watch that shit. I'd watch it. I mean, obviously I'm gonna watch it anyway. But...
Yeah. You just love to hate people, you know? It's like such a fun time.
But Freaky looks really, really good.
It does. And it looks very funny, which I like. Also just like where's Vince Vaughn been? Like I feel like I haven't seen him in anything in forever.
I was really surprised to see him in Freaky.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this seems like not your film, but then it kept going and I was like, okay, it seems more like your film.
Yeah, yeah. He's just like that kind of person I keep waiting to like hear something bad about on Twitter or something. Like I don't know why. I just don't trust white men apparently. Which kind of tracks with reality, so I had a question I wanted to ask you forever ago and I don't remember what it was. I'm very annoyed with myself.
Did you get it together?
I just like can't, you know. Hashtag 2020. Can't get my shit together.
Nope. Can't at all.
What was it? It was about the movies. Why?
That's good. Because that's what we're talking about.
It is what we're talking
Supposedly.
about. Frig, man, I don't know. Did you have other thoughts or questions for me and my unwarranted hatred?
I get it. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of people who think that we're crazy for not liking Jennifer's body.
Yeah, so... that's fair. If that didn't alienate it.
Sorry. So I get appreciating it for what it is, and I understand the issues with it. So I get it. I find them to be very fun and worth my time.
Yeah,
I enjoyed watching them.
Well,
it was funny because I was watching them with I watched the first one with my husband, the second one without him, and he comes out and he was like, "Why are there?" Oh, I'm trying to remember what the exact moment it was, but he comes out and he was like, "Wait, why is this happening?" And I was like, "Oh, because we're in a parallel alternate timeline." He was like, "What? What happened to this movie?"
Just off the rails, completely off the rails.
Yeah, just did whatever the fuck it wanted to.
Yeah. Well, if anyone
Do you remember your question?
No, I did not. So I'm going to open the floor to anyone who else might have questions if anyone is around for that. But yeah. In the meantime, I guess you guys are just going to have to watch it and decide for yourself because we clearly do not have clear directive for you here.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
I'm always curious to know what people think.
Yeah, for sure. And next week we're doing Salem's Lot by Stephen King, which funny story.
Oh shit, that's next week.
That is next week. I totally forgot to bring it home with me from my aunt's, so I also either now have to buy it or have Brendan retrieve it.
That's funny. Yeah, because Paige was like, oh, I'll go through my aunt's book and pick which one I want to do. And she has to pick the one that I don't own.
Sorry.
And I own many Stephen King novels, and so I was making fun of her for having to make me buy it.
I wanted to read
vampire
shit.
And now she has to probably buy it too.
Yes, that's accurate. Yeah. Well, at least it was one of the shorter books, you know. It won't be like rereading that Hunger Games prequel we read, which was painful.
I mean, it wasn't. How long was that? It was like 400 pages?
Was it? Did it just feel like
forever? It
wasn't
very long. I think it just felt like forever.
That makes sense.
I don't think it was that long.
That's fair. Midnight Sun was that long.
Midnight Sun was that long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy
So,
shit.
which was fine with me. I mean, yeah. It was more fine with me than it was with Paige anyway.
Yeah, that's true. We're just doing Salem's Lot the book, right? We're not watching.
I might watch the movie. Oh, I'm sorry. I lied to you. Ballad, Songbirds, and Snakes and Song. Whatever the fuck it is. It's 528 pages.
The ship book. Oh, wow. Yeah.
520
Neither of
pages.
us finished.
Nope. And we're fine with it.
Oh, totally fine with it. Oh, man. Well, I don't think we have any other questions. So, unless you have final thoughts, I think we'll call it an evening. Whatever you just said did not come through your mic at all, and I feel like this is a ritual for the end of our podcast.
It'll be better once I have internet that is hardwired in.
Yes.
All I said was watch the movies and then add us on Twitter.
Yes, that is a good to-do for all of you. But we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.